Well, hello there, CBC youth, and especially our middle school youth. Today, for you, when you see this, hopefully is going to be Wednesday, April 1st. And just to be painfully optimistic, one good part about all this social distancing is there's no way you're going to prank me for April Fool's Day. Ha! So joke's on you. No, I'm kidding. Well, no, I am actually happy about not getting pranked. That wasn't a joke. I'm serious about that part. But I miss you guys. I would much rather be pranked and be with you than not get pranked and be away from you. Yeah, that's all there is to it. I miss you guys. Today, I'm coming to our lesson having finally had a chance to actually talk with a few of you. And so I know that for some of you, right now, this almost feels like an extended spring break. For others of you, it's like you're grounded or something. For others of you, it's a really sad time. So to those people who have picked up the phone or called me back or whatever it's been, thank you. It's been really, really good to talk with you. And I hope I get to talk with many more of you as we keep going ahead. We are not going to stop in 1 Corinthians. So I hope that you'll continue on your own to read through the chapters. Tonight we have a quick reading from chapter 7. And this week, I'd love if you could focus on chapter 8, verses 1 through 13 in your own reading. So by yourself in your devotional reading, read 1 Corinthians chapter 8, verses 1 through 13. That's what we'll talk about next week. Also, the thing for this week that I'm really excited about is we'll have our first Zoom here, maybe in a little bit if you're just watching this Wednesday evening. Wednesday at 7 on April 1st, we're having our Zoom meeting, which is just going to be really interesting. But I look forward to it. In 1 Corinthians, as you know, we've been talking about Paul's core message for the church in Corinth, which was basically, in spite of your differences, be unified, come together. And in coming together, in remembering the power of the cross, right, we say the ground's level at the foot of the cross, that good Baptist saying that really helps us understand the message of unity in Paul in 1 Corinthians. When we come together at the foot of the cross, when we're unified, in a special way, we usher in, we bring about, we're prepared for the return of Jesus. That's the message that we've been talking about this whole time. And we're going to keep talking about it. And tonight we're talking about it in terms of especially marriage in chapter 7. But let me just get into this passage, and then we're going to talk about. There were people arguing about new Christians, whether if they're married to someone who's not a Christian, should they get divorced? Should they stay married? What should it mean for us to be the church with the institution of marriage in mind, right? That's what Paul's talking about. That's what the congregation in Corinth, the people of the church in Corinth, are wanting to ask him about. And here's some words that really just stood out to me from Paul from this passage. I'm starting in verse 29 of chapter 7. This is what I mean, brothers and sisters, Paul says. This is what I want. The appointed time has grown very short. The appointed time meaning the last day, the Lord's day that we've talked about a little bit already. The day of Jesus' return, the day of judgment, when everything will be set to right. Paul, ancient Near East Paul, is saying the time is very short. Well, I can assure you that in the year 2020, the time is very short. From now on, let those who have wives live as though they had none, and those who mourn as though they were not mourning, and those who rejoice as though they were not rejoicing, and those who buy as though they had no goods, and those who deal with this world, that's the important line here, those who deal with this world as though they had no dealings with it. For the present form of the world is passing away. Paul is not saying your marriage isn't important, or your friendships, or your work as a student, or whether you're mourning or rejoicing or however you're feeling. None of that's unimportant. But Paul says those things are temporary. All of those things are temporary. And he says, because the time is so short, guys, the time is short for the end of this world. Whether it comes tomorrow or whether it comes after each of you have lived a long life full of days, the time is short for the return of Jesus and the end of the world as we know it. So, make the best use of your time. The very best use of it. And I think Paul kind of tells us what that use of time should be up here a little earlier. In 24 of chapter 7, Paul says, so brothers and sisters, in whatever condition each was called, in whatever way you walk into the church, whatever place you find yourself in right now, there let him or her remain with God. The only thing worth our time is the thing that'll last forever. And what will last forever? Our relationships. Our relationship with God, but also we know that our relationship with God is tied to how we relate with other people, right? The image of the cross, that how we relate with God and how we relate with other human beings go hand in hand. They're connected, right? So Paul's saying that time is short. So put your energy into, mentally and physically and emotionally and spiritually, put your energy into what's going to be a good investment, what's going to pay off down the road. It's not necessarily your GPA, the grades you get. It's not necessarily how good of an athlete you are. It's not necessarily how many wins you get on Fortnite. What matters most is the relationships that we carry. The relationships that we invest in, right? We invest in relationships with God, each other, and the world. Those are the things that will last. Those are the things that will carry on into the next life. And Jesus is coming very soon. Very soon. So put your heart, put your energy, put your life into what's going to last forever. Okay? I hope you've been able to read that chapter. You guys are amazing for doing this study with me, because there's a lot in these passages that's not easy to get into. So I want to encourage you that even doing the work of reading through it and practicing those shuns, right? Using your imagination, having a good investigation, figuring out your application, those things, if you're doing all that, if you're reading on your own, even if you're not getting a lot out of it by yourself, you're doing tremendous work. That's a really good investment. That's a really good use of your time. I hope you're doing that. I hope that you'll read chapter 8 between now and next week, because we'll be learning about it. I think next week I'm going to have a guest for you. A special guest, once again, to give you guys a break from me. But, yeah, I look forward to hopefully seeing some of you through Zoom. I love you very much. I miss you very much. Holler at me if you need anything. Be good. Take care. Use your time wisely.